Walter Koenig Jr., my nickname is Pete. Well, I was an ensign when I went aboard the America on January 3rd, 1965. I was a lieutenant junior grade when I left the America December 16th, 1967, 2 weeks shy of 3 years on the ship. I went to Dartmouth College. I graduated in June of 1964, and in the spring of 1964, when I was trying to decide what to do, I was facing a draft. Although the Vietnam War hadn't yet started, I had interviewed with a naval OCS recruiter. I filled out the forms. I went to, I took my physical, I took the tests, and I had to get some additional medical information for them, supplemental tests. And so I was putting that together when I graduated. My plans kind of crystallized when I got my draft notice the same day I got my diploma from Dartmouth College. And I was supposed to report for my physical, and so I put the OCS application on the front burner and entered Naval OCS August, I believe it was August 2nd of 1964, which, if I'm not mistaken, I remember it was very close in time to the Gulf of Tonkin incident. I was at OCS 2 days, I think, when the Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred. And I graduated from OCS middle of December of 64, and my orders were to the America. So I went home for Christmas, managed to have my car stolen in New York City. I hitched a ride down to Norfolk and reported to the America in Newport News, still in the builder's ways. And I did 5 instances of myself, and I was lucky enough my grades were good at OCS. And that was the way they determined seniority. They said that seniority among ensigns was like virginity among whores. And I was the most senior one because I had the best grades of the ones that reported to America. We met with the executive officer, all of us petrified. This guy was a full captain, and he said, "What do you want to do on the ship?" No idea. I said, "Well, it's an aircraft." I said to myself, "It's an aircraft carrier. They got an air department. That's where they fly the planes. I want to go in the air department." He says, "You got it." So I went to V6 Division, which later became Aircraft Intermediate Maintenance, but I was always an assistant V6 Division officer. Great division, about 125 men. We had 8 chiefs, headed by a lieutenant commander, and we also had an LDO lieutenant, and I was the junior division officer, and I started my career in the Navy. It was late at night, and I was by myself. I got dropped off, like I said, I hooked a ride down, and I went, oh my God, I'm looking up at the flight deck, it's so much higher. There were all these hoses and steam and all, it was fully engaged. They were working on the ship. There were all kinds of lights and whistles and noises, everything unfamiliar, totally unfamiliar. I got orders. I have to find a gangway to get aboard. There's an officer's brow, there's an enlisted brow. I found the officer's brow, I went up, they signed my orders, endorsed me in, found me a place to sleep ashore. The ship wasn't commissioned yet. So I went back into a bachelor officer's quarter and stayed there, and then they started to train us. I went to damage control school, firefighting school, NTDS school, and then they put the ship in commission. I made the shakedown cruises to Gitmo, off to Virginia Capes, and started to learn about the flight deck. I was taken under the wing of an old officer. It was actually the Battle of Coral. It was an adjunct to the Battle of Coral Sea. Okay, and our assistant flight deck officer was a lieutenant. He was a limited duty officer, LDO lieutenant. His name was Henry J. Bouchard, Frenchie Bouchard. He was a famous guy. And part of what the Navy did with the new carrier was they put a cadre aboard the ship who had a lot of experience aboard carriers generally. Well, this guy was in World War II, he was in Korea. He roomed with James Michener when he wrote the Bridges at Toko Rig. Michener did his research aboard a carrier that Frenchie was on. They often said that he was the figure that Michener based his character, Beer Barrel, the chief. Anyway, Frenchie took me under his wing, and we were friendly socially. His wife and he were really friendly with my girlfriend. I mean, my girlfriend and I, who I'm still married to 43 years later, we used to go out together, and he showed me the ropes. And I started working right up on the flight decks. We had the little yellow vehicles that tow the planes around. We had 14 of them. And each one of them has a little turbine on the back of varying pressures. Certain turbines could start Phantoms, certain turbines could start other planes. And so we had 6 of one kind, 8 of another, and you tow the planes and you'd hook hoses up and you blow air across the turbines to get them spinning. They'd have external electrical power, they'd ignite, and the engine would start. So my guys, along with aircrew, would start the planes, tow them, move them around, and then of course they do that all under the direction of V1 flight deck personnel directing where the plane should be spotted for launch, for fueling, for arming, and so forth. And I was up there constantly. I did not stand any bridge watches. I was never on the bridge of the America while it was underway. I was one of the, I think, 2 junior officers on the whole ship. There were 500 junior officers. Half were in the air wing, half were ship's company. Of the ship's company, they all stood bridge watches except me and one other fellow. And that was because when air operations were being conducted, I had to be on the flight deck, so if I had a bridge watch, it would interfere with my duties. Nobody else was doing it, so I got taken off the watch bill. My roommates, I lived in a stateroom, they call it. It's about a little bit bigger than this room. We had 6 of us, Boys Town, ensigns and JGs, had to go out in the hallway to get to the bathroom. We became very friendly. We were good guys that I lived with. All 5 of the other fellows would be up in the middle of the night going for their 4-hour watch, mid watches, 4 to 8s. I would get up in time to make flight quarters, and I'd go to bed 1:30. I might go to bed 1:30 in the morning, get up 5:30 the next, do it again. You launched aircraft every hour and a half, and then you also recovered at the end of the launch. It was just a repetitive cycle, and it becomes kind of imprinted. I could write a flight plan right now. Yeah, each squadron sent out 4 A4s from VA-64, 4 A4s from VA-66. Maybe one would go down when it was on its way to the catapult, have some kind of mechanical problem. 4 Phantoms from 102 and 4 Phantoms from 33 at Bidgie. A couple tankers, maybe a couple. We always had what you call E1s, the radar plane, E2As. E2As replaced the E1Bs, but it was quite an operation. An aircraft carrier flight deck in my era was determined by Lloyd's of London to be the most dangerous man-made work environment known. And it's quite complex, highly technical. I don't begin to know everything, but you learn an awful lot. You learn it very quickly because you don't want to get hurt. People were hurt. People were killed. And you don't want to be one of them. Frequently they were killed by their own negligence, injured by their own negligence, but sometimes it was somebody else's mistake. But if you were careful, keep your head out of your butt, you were helping yourself to a safe career. But I worked on a flight deck the entire time I was in the Navy. The first, year, I was the assistant V6 division officer, as I said. And just terrific people, very, very highly mechanical trained. But they were all under 25. You have 5,500 men on that ship. I bet you 5,000 of them were under the age of 25. It was a new ship when I was on it.